welcome to episode 6 of the Art of Possible podcast. It's a pleasure to have you, Rishav. So,
Like,
for those of us who don't have context, Rishav is somebody that is very, very hard to label because of all of the different places he has been and all of the different skills he has picked up. But the general theme that I think I can use to describe his journey is that he is somebody that decided to take a creative career seriously and has taken serious efforts at every step through willpower, planning, and manifestation and determination to bring himself where he is today, right? So, most recently, we saw a post by you on LinkedIn where you met Ayushmaan Khurrana. Tell us how that happened. That is something I'm very, very curious about. Yeah.
so I always like since kid I always wanted to become an actor. And so anybody just whose journey is like like from middle class, I belong to a tier three city, and like someone who made into Bollywood from nowhere is like some kind of a biggest inspiration to me. So I always like dabble into their stories. And so like it during 2018 when I was like in my first year of my college, I picked this book, Cracking the Code of Bollywood, and that book like literally changed my life in terms of how I was thinking. Because uske pehle I was thinking if you want to become an actor or want to do something big in Bollywood, you have to sleep on railway tracks. You have to live with vada pav and chai, those kind of stuff. Because I had those stories were very normalized. Like if you want to like dream big, you have to sacrifice a lot. But then that book, and not this only point, a lot of touch points were there, like which literally conditioned me or like like changed me as a person. How should I think? And there's not only one way to go. So that book like literally changed the way I started looking towards world even, and uske baad even his journey and everything. So since 2018, I was like completely following him, like his journey, and I was continuously DMing him and stuff. So that was happening, and with time, watching his interviews and how he thinks, how he planned, because I found my in my journey and his journey, like things were very calculative also and very pre-planned and similar trajectory. Like we both did mass communication. Uh, so those kind of stuffs were there. So वो एक लगातार follow up चल रहा था. One day he was very generous. Like one day he just replied on my DM on Instagram. तो वहां से like ऐसा हुआ कि चलो ठीक है, मतलब बातें तो शुरू हो गई अपनी. Then a very fun incident was in 2019 when I was in TVF. I was there in Bombay for like 3 months, and every day I used to carry that book in a hope that kisi signal pe, if I will spot him or anywhere in Bombay, I could get the autograph. So that was my intention in 2019, and just used to write to him, even email and stuff. That was a complete fan move. And one day when I was like planning to go Bombay recently for one of my shoot, I just dropped him like, "Hey, I'm coming to Bombay. Is it possible if we can meet?" And he's just sent me the number of his manager and like said, "Yeah, I mean, let's try." So I was like, "Oh, whoa! I mean, is it like that?" So that happened, and when I went to set, like he recognized me. I was like just walking, and he was sitting there, and I just got froze. So, मतलब इसके पहले I've met celebs and stuff, but अब उतना starstruck नहीं होता है. But when I saw him, it was like, oh, I mean, the Ayushmann Khurrana whom I admire the most. It's not about the star he is or other stuff, but what I have thought of him. And there was also that fear he never meet your hero. But it was a very different experience. And he just saw like, hey, Rishabh. And I was like, "Arey, fuck, but he know my name." And so how it happened, he was there, he stood up, and I was walking towards him, and there was a bodyguard. So he just put he had a revolver, like a gun. So उसने उल्टा करके just like to stop me, उसने ऐसे डाला. And Ashma said like, अरे अरे भाई अपना अरे. And I was like, fuck, मतलब, like you're it's like you're so gentle, man. And then he hugged me. I started crying, of course. Like थोड़ा वो मेरा moment हो गया ऐसा. And then he was like, it's okay. I mean, शाहरुख सर को देख के मैं भी ऐसे हो गया. Like अच्छा.
Oh wow.
Then I got to know. So till time it was like a complete fan move type चीजें चल रही थी. Then I got to know like he went through my Instagram. He read few of my write-ups, and he saw my theater journey as well. So then he started speaking, oh, you do theater also. I said, yeah. And you write, so yeah. What you have written, I read that part. Then he started saying कि मैंने वो वाला तुम्हारा वो कहीं पे पढ़ा था and it was too good. Then I was like, oh, acha, it's not. He didn't reply just because I texted him, but also he also wanted to meet or like. So I was like, acha. Then it was a surprise for me at that moment, and yeah, that's how it happened. Like I stayed, so it was a shoot going on, and I think I stayed there for 45 minutes. Around 20-25 मिनट हमारे बाजी हुई. It was like fun cheeses. So I got one frame also. Like I got the book autographed and one blank page and a framed this.
Oh
What
wow.
do you say?
So he says, "Hey Rishabh, keep the fire burning. Lots of love, Ayushman."
Oh man.
Crazy, crazy,
To
crazy.
get something like that from somebody that you've admired for so long,
Yeah,
like you're saying, Rishabh, ki it's not about how big or small the star is for anybody else. It's about how much you admire their journey. It's that personal connection that you have with them because you're like, this person, he's made it from like sort of a similar situation where I am in. And you admire their journey so much. So इसीलिए it's so much special that I can totally imagine if I were to meet like one of my gods, right? Who
yeah,
I've defined as a god, and I really want to be like them. उनके सामने जाके I'll also be like, man, what do I say? Do I say the right? Do I say anything? Because anything that I say, I'll probably say it in the wrong way, and then I'll
yeah,
mess this entire situation up forever. So
of course,
yeah, dude. I mean, I can just feel it from the way that you're describing it. Ki, like meeting Ayushman Khurrana for you must have been like, uh,
of course.
yeah,
So like we all have heroes, right? And he is one of them, like the biggest one you can say. मतलब बहुत पहले मुझे किसी ने बोला था कि if I get a chance to meet maybe Steve Jobs तो अब possible नहीं है. चलो Elon Musk even, and even if Elon Musk is with me for an hour, मतलब मैं शायद एक सेल्फी के बाद I will say 2-3 lines maybe, oh good big fan, regular stuff, but after that I will not have anything to say to him because personally I am not very much into tech. I'm not very much into that space. Even if someone is, I think whatever level Elon or like any other person who has achieved in their industry, like if you meet them naturally, it's because आप connect नहीं कर पाते हो चीजों को. But when I met him, like it never felt like I'm meeting a Bollywood star. But after like I guess 5 minutes, he was like a young, older brother only, and he was asking कि तुम बॉम्बे कब आए? ऐसा तो नहीं तुम सिर्फ मिलने आए हो बॉम्बे? मैंने नहीं नहीं सच में काम है. क्या कर रहे हो आजकल? क्या चल रहा है? स्टफ तुम कहाँ से हो? फिर वो ज्योग्राफी हम बातें कर रहे हैं कि अच्छा बिहार में भी पहाड़ है. नहीं बोला नहीं बिहार में नहीं है, नेपाल में है. मेरा घर नेपाल के पास में है. तो वो वैसी बातें
Wow.
और मतलब आफ्टर द आई वाज लाइक कि हाँ मतलब ठीक है यार ब्रो, आप बताओ क्या सीन, लाइफ कैसी चल रही है आपकी, कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं. मतलब वो मोमेंट होता है. आई थिंक इट वाज हिज generosity which made it like very normal for me. But I also learned one more thing. इसके पहले whenever I met stars, I met most more at work, and वहां पे आप प्रोफेशनली बिलोंग करते हो या आप फैन की तरह मिलो तो फिर आप एक भीड़ का एक हिस्सा होते हो. दिस वाज द मोमेंट जो मिक्स ऑफ बोथ था. एंड आई मतलब बहुत ही फर्स्ट हैंड एक्सपीरियंस मिला हाउ लाइक बड़े लोग कैसे बिहेव करते हैं, हाउ दे मेक यू फील स्पेशल. वो चीजें जो हम सुनते आ रहे थे, आई दिस टाइम लाइक आई फेल्ट इट फर्स्ट हैंड एक्सपीरियंस. तो हाँ मतलब इट वाज लाइक वन ऑफ द लाइफ टाइम मोमेंट टाइप चीजें.
For me, like, so I've always been very jealous of Ayushman Khurrana. And I mean, the obvious reasons aside, right? Whatever good looking, successful man, all that shit, right? It's like, how is he so happy all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, and I generally have like this sense that everybody needs to have some darkness, like,
Hmm.
if I feel like you are somebody that has their shit together, that has a smile on their face most of the time, etc., I don't trust you. I feel like something's wrong with this guy, right? Like, because it's like for me that has never been a reality, right? Um, like I always feel like I'm always struggling with something in my head, right? Some shit I'm grappling with, right? But then a couple of years ago, I was working with somebody whose brother is very well connected in the Punjabi film and music industry, right?
Hmm.
So I used to keep asking her, okay, have you met Diljit, have you met like this guy or this person, Jimmy Shergill, etc., etc., right? And then this one time I straight up asked her, I was like, how is Ayushman so happy all the time? And she said, because he does Buddhist meditation chants every morning, right?
Mm.
And it's like a deliberate thing that he incorporates in his life, like
Mm.
um, all this like gratefulness and all that stuff, right? He does this Nam Myoho Renge Kyo thing, which is the reason why he's so focused and so
Yeah.
happy. And I'm like, fuck, this esoteric Eastern shit works. Like, who would have thought, right? So I'm like, okay, theek hai. At some point, even I gotta start doing it because this is crazy. Like, but yeah, that's that's something that this reminded me of. Also, like, it's like, how long had you been DMing him? How many years at this point?
6 7 years.
Before. Okay, and it's like double text, triple text, quadruple text ऐसे
हाँ
तुम्हारे में
मतलब
चैट में रहा होगा कि एक के बाद एक के बाद एक.
चैटें होती थी,
हाँ.
मतलब इतना लंबा मेरा मैसेज आता था, एक लाइन से कभी एक लाइक आ गया, लाइक वाइक तो आना शुरू हुआ था अभी, लाइक रिसेंटली लास्ट ईयर आई थिंक ही रिस्पॉन्डेड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम.
Yeah.
I was just watching that movie, Action Hero, and I just put normally tagging him, and I just put in my Instagram story, and he just liked it. So that I think उसकी वजह से I connected into his DM, because आप generally request वाले section में होते हो, तो वो फिर
Hmm.
primary में general में आया होगा. एंड आफ्टर दैट लाइक सीन हो जाता था या तो ये वाला जो मेरा स्टेज है ना, मतलब आई एम अ पर्सन हु टेक्स्ट एवरीबॉडी हुम आई एडमायर, लाइक विदाउट अ सेकंड थॉट और विदाउट थिंकिंग ये क्लिंजी होगा या क्लीशे होगा. I just text everybody whom I like, whatever the reason I like. Even my friends, if they're doing something great or something good, I just text like a very जो भी I am feeling. And so does I treat Shahrukh Khan or like anybody else. कि हाँ भाई बढ़िया किया तुमने. तो ये वाला स्टेज मेरा बहुत लोगों के साथ चल रहा है कि हाँ मतलब पीपल डू रिस्पॉन्ड समटाइम्स कि ओके थैंक यू. तो मतलब it was a big move for me, but I'm not surprised. Even tomorrow, if I be able to meet someone like Ayushman, I won't be surprised because things are happening in that way. It will feel like unreal, like, oh, fuck, it is happening. It is still a dream, but I won't be surprised कि अरे ये हो कैसे गया, because things
Right.
are happening in that way.
Okay.
That's really
So
cool.
So,
how about you?
yeah.
You mentioned a bunch of things while telling this Ayushman story, which is you do theater, you write. We mentioned earlier that you worked at Leo Burnett, like in advertising or something like that. So I want to ask you, where did this come from? Like as a kid, were you always a little like artsy? Matlab, did you do a lot of drama and theater as a kid? Like where did the Bollywood dream come from? And how did it start from the beginning?
So the first glance which I remember is I think I was 3 year old maybe, and in my house there was a TV box, like uh वो कौन सा ब्रांड हुआ करता था यार पहले, बीपीएल. तो उसके वो
BPL.
बीपीएल
Yes.
तो उसके वो टीवी ना पीछे से निकले वाले हुए, एलसीडी आया नहीं था तब. इट्स आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट 2002 और 2003. सो द फर्स्ट ग्लिम्स जो मेरे हेड में है, वो ये है कि उस पे गोविंदा का कोई डांस चल रहा होगा, एंड मतलब आई हैड अ फीलिंग कि टीवी सेट के पीछे जो स्पेस होता है उसमें लोग घुस के डांस करते हैं. So that's how I used to think about TV. And my general question was like कि KBC अभी चल रहे हैं, तो how Amitabh Bachchan was dressed up in a suit boot and asking question, and now how is advertising कुछ मीठा हो जाए from like dairy milk. So that was
Hmm.
those questions were in my head, and I think every kid has those curiosity. But that led me to ki I also want to be inside TV. So I used to keep my little hands inside TV screen like this. I used to find a hole ki where I can enter inside it. This was like a very kiddish thing I'm talking about when I was 2 or 2.5 year old. That is the first uh, I think वो hint जो मुझे याद है. And after that, it just started blowing up. Like in school, like everybody, when anyone want to ask, like used to ask me, what do you want to become? I used to say hero बनना है. Because actor वो तब तक introduce नहीं हुआ था. तो इतना पता था कि hero heroine होते हैं, यही दो होते हैं. Writer director तो पता भी नहीं था. तो hero बनना was the main thing. एंड फिर थोड़े टाइम बाद मुझे टॉम पता चला कि अच्छा हीरो को एक्टर बोलते हैं, वो सब चीजें हुई तो इट परसिस्टेड. आई थिंक व्हेन आई वाज इन third or fourth grade, one of my uncle was like doing BTech from Pune. He mentioned that in Pune there is a college called FTII, and where you can do masters and bachelors in like cinema, or you can learn acting and stuff. So I was like, "Yo, fuck, what? There is a college just to learn about cinema." Then I think he also mentioned about symbiosis कि जहाँ से mass communication का एक course होता है. So those that was my world throughout. And मतलब I think you know जब आप बच्चे होते हो आप एक ड्रीम देखते हो कि मुझे रॉकेट बनाना है. तो
Yeah.
वो वही था कि यार मुझे रॉकेट में बैठना है, but it just persisted even when today I'm 24. So and now if I track back also, so my mom also writes. So maybe it's also like gene wala factor. So yeah, acting was there. Then 2000, I think 16, I was doing my 10th grade. उस time और 9th grade के time पे I started reading novels. And वहां से writing का थोड़ा सा चस्का लगा कि हाँ मतलब लिख कर because अच्छा so I was always a very attention seeker type of person. In terms of क्लास में वो लड़के होते हैं ना जो फेमस बहुत होते हैं. तो आई वाज मतलब वो कि हाँ मतलब स्पॉटलाइट चाहिए कैसे भी मिल रहा हो, मतलब वो बदमाशी करके मिले, पढ़ाई करके तो नहीं मिलनी थी. तो दूसरा रूट क्या आप कर सकते हो आप. अब जहाँ से मैं बिलोंग करता था गिटार तो मतलब पूरे शहर में कहीं मिलता ही नहीं. अब हारमोनियम सीखना सो यू नो मिडिल क्लास टाइप चीज है भाई, ये तो नहीं करना है, इससे तो
Yeah.
इम्प्रेस नहीं होगा कोई. तो फिर मैंने फेक करना शुरू कर दिया. मैंने इंस्टाग्राम सॉरी उस टाइम पे फेसबुक हुआ करता था. मैंने अपने कजन का गिटार लेकर के फोटो डाल दिया कि हाँ मतलब गिटार बजा रहे. तो वो आई थिंक वो हमेशा से एक अटेंशन को लेकर के था. फिर मुझे पता चला कि अच्छा अगर आप लिखते हो तो अटेंशन मिल रहा है. Attention was a game. Like I was always in the spotlight as a kid. Also, I feel it shapes you in a way because while growing up, I think मुझे enough attention मिला था because of I don't know whatever reasons. और उसके बाद वो चीजें बढ़ गई in terms of कि हाँ मतलब अभी चाहिए in a legit way because of my work. And in 9th or 10th, I realized कि हाँ लिख करके attention, you are getting attention. People are saying, oh, I read your that quote, it was nice, and I started with, oh, okay. Then I read like I think I don't remember right now, but उस moment पे वैसी stories पे आई थी कि someone who wants to crack, like if you become a writer, you can write a film also. Like चेतन भगत की film Two States बाद में film बन गई novel से. I started seeing my journey कि okay, maybe I can write a novel. Later it can made into movie and I can act into it. So that's how I planned, and writing came into picture. Then I started practicing it more. Then I figured out कि poem लिख करके तो नहीं हो रहा है कुछ. What about writing for screens? Also, very funnily, one thing happened like when I was in seventh grade, I remember I had a very small phone with internet, and वो क्यूरोसिटी थी आई गेस. मैंने जब भी मेट का स्क्रिप्ट गूगल किया कि यार फिल्म है तो उसकी स्क्रिप्ट तो होती होगी, अगर स्क्रिप्ट होती होगी तो गूगल पे है क्या. And when I googled and downloaded, I read, and then I started reading कि okay, this is how it is written. वो tie निकाल के से he put the coins down, the first thing from जब भी met. And I just started imagining everything कि oh yeah, it is happening in that manner. Then I read Two Estates, and then that time I haven't watched Two Estates as a film, but I knew कि हाँ इसमें lead character ये दोनों है. I started imagining every scene while reading that book. So that gave me a sense of imagination, and also like how impactful like writing as a medium is. Then my interest for visual medium grew. कि ठीक है, now let's focus on writing for films. And then I passed my 10th grade. Then 2 years was logging for TV. Yeah, I want to get into TV because that was completely like yeah, they are making some cool shit on YouTube. And Bollywood का तो पता नहीं कैसे क्रैक होगा, but they are someone who are also collaborating with Shah Rukh Khan and stuff, and they are writing something which I can write. They are talking that thing which I used to do in my school time. तो वो लगा कि ये हो सकता है. So that was the 2 years of me completely slogging and DMing. So this also was a consistent point throughout my life was I always reach out to people and somehow it turns out. So then TVF happened. But yeah, this was like childhood wala thing if I say specific. So this was how I was till my 12th grade.
So in the 10th grade, you started thinking about TVF, and working specifically to get into TVF
Yeah.
that early. Oh, crazy. So it's like that's around the time that people join foundation courses to get into IIT,
IIT.
right? But so uh, it's crazy that it came to you that early, right? And then, like, how did that play out with school and college? But before that, like, just some context about TVF, right? Um, this was like circa 2015, 2016 that you're talking about,
2016,
right?
I passed my 10th.
Yeah, so around that time, YouTube series had just become a thing in India. So
Mm.
a bunch of people were like making really good web series. And this is for audience that aren't acquainted with this, but we had like several folks get their cameras together and create almost, I mean, like professionally recorded, professionally produced content that they were creating for like a wider audience, and then just for the first time distributing it online, right? So we had like a bunch of really impactful series come out, and TVF was one of the studios that led that charge, the Viral Fever studio. So I personally remember two very memorable series. One was a parody of a MTV show called Rowdies, and another was TVF Pictures, which was a show about a bunch of guys that want to do a startup. Pictures in particular has inspired like millions of people to dream about starting a company, and generally like the content was absolutely hilarious, and some people, no wait, a fair number of actors from TVF have now gone on to get
Then,
big roles in Bollywood, right?
yeah.
So yeah, that's so it's crazy that like that early you recognize these guys are going to be big players. They are doing something I can do, and I need to get in on whatever it is they're doing and figure out how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So how did that pan out? Like after school, what was step two?
So after school, like 10th, I moved to Delhi for my higher education, like 11th and 12th. So those 2 years, okay, so that also happened when I was in 11th. Like people convinced me if you will not do BTech, you are not going to earn any penny because if you're not an engineer, you will not be successful and you can't earn money at all. So I like, of course, I was like 16, 17 year old. I also got fear ki, "Arey yaar, matlab, theek hai, okay, let's think about BTech once." And I also sat for VIT exam also. So, so then I thought, ki, okay, so if I will do BTech, then how I will become an actor or writer? Then I saw, and during after when I shifted to Delhi, there was a concert of Sunidhi Chauhan in DTU. I went to DTU and the campus was so good. And then again, one of my inspiration, like Sushant Singh Rajput, I also get very inspired from his journey. Also because he also belongs from the like Bihar and very similar background. So his journey was also very inspirational for me. Then I thought, कि, okay, ठीक है, let's get into DTU. And then if he can become an actor from DTU, I can also become an actor. And also campus is nice. So for a 1 year, I was thinking to become an engineer. And but of course, I was not at all good at it. I scored 53 marks in physics. So that was a clear sign that you should not think about being an engineer. Mathematics, I think, during 40s or some. So after 10th, I was like, my minds were in a two shift. One was like, कि ठीक है IIT करना है, DTU जाना है and stuff. And second was like, कि ठीक है यार, let's write something, let's read some books and stuff. तो वो chemistry exam के पहले आप literature पढ़ रहे हो, वो वाला scenario था. And writing DMing, I was like just used to write scripts in my head कि ठीक है, okay, Bachelor season 1 आया था या season 2. So I was thinking if I had to write Bachelors, how would I attempt it? What new ideas I can think of? So those were like a just hit and trial method. And then I used to, that time, like they used to tag everyone if they are doing some shoot. तो वो उनके story से किसी और को find out करना, फिर उनसे पूछना कि यार आपने ये कैसे किया. So just reaching out to random people, TVF, and apart from TVF also, like I made a connection, which in my head it was my connection, but I was just one of their followers. But yeah, उनसे बात कर करके चीजें थोड़ी क्लियर होती गई. किसी ने कुछ बता दिया, किसी ने कुछ बता दिया. एंड फिर 12th हो गया. आई थिंक मैं फर्स्ट ईयर फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में था. एंड अगेन Abhinav Anand is one person at TVF who plays the role of Bade Miyan, the tall guy. So
Mhm.
I mean, very generous of him. मैं उनको भी 1.5 साल से टेक्स्ट करता था. I texted even Arunab Kumar, who is the founder of TVF, and I also got a reply from him, but it was not a helpful reply. He just said, "ठीक है, okay, send your script to X person," and X person never reverted back. But when I texted Abhinav, I used to text him from like 1.5 years. I texted him like 15, 20 messages, maybe in 2 years of span. But one day he just replied कि इस वाले topic पे कुछ लिख कर भेज. And in 2 days, I just replied with some content which they really liked, and that's how it turned out. Then they say कि ठीक है तू बॉम्बे आ रहा है. तो वो वैसे पैन आउट हुआ था बट अगेन मतलब वो कॉल आने के वो मैसेज आई थिंक मुझे आई क्लियरली रिमेम्बर दैट डे वाज 17th March व्हेन आई गॉट दैट मैसेज कि हाँ ठीक है यू आर कमिंग टू बॉम्बे बट आई जॉइन टीवीएफ इन जून सो फ्रॉम मार्च टू अप्रैल मई एंड देन जून सो 3 months आई वाज इन ब्लैंक स्टेट की फक मतलब कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है. Even if I remember when I was in college, Timeliners was in Delhi, and Timeliners is associated with TVF. So I was thinking if I can get into Timeliners, then I can move my way towards TVF Bombay if I get into Timeliners. So someone promised that Timeliners also भी ठीक है चल आजा. And I also just message कि यार मेरे को पैसे भी नहीं चाहिए, just let me work as a spot boy. Whatever work you will say, I'll do. I just want to be present at set. मतलब तब तो मैं as a writer भी work नहीं मांग रहा था. I was just saying कि I just want to be present on set. I just want to see how things works out here, how camera rolls, how actor say their lines, what happens between the cuts. I just wanted to experience all of that. And I think that one message, it turned out they he just asked me for work. And I think वो उनको पसंद आ गया बाद में. बट वो बन नहीं पाया वो जो स्केच मैंने लिखा था बिकॉज इट वॉज वेरी टाइम वो पॉलिटिक कुछ तो इलेक्शन के ऊपर था बट मेरे स्क्रिप्ट भेजने और उनके अप्रूव करने के बीच में 3 महीने में इलेक्शन निकल गया तो वो बन नहीं पाया बट हाँ वो उनको काफी पसंद आ गया था.
So
Um,
it feels like throughout your entire journey, there's this like superpower that you have, Rishabh, which is ki, like you don't think too much before reaching out to people, and you don't think ki, like
Yeah,
what will they think about like my message, and that's sort of your superpower because in throughout your stories you've been like I sent a message to this guy, I kept sending him a message because I just kept telling him what I felt or this person and this organization, and at some point they replied to you and they got back to you.
yeah,
I feel like that's in some way like pure persistence but a very different kind of theme on persistence, which is not like कि मैं grind कर रहा हूँ, I'm feeling dejected by like continuously sending that person messages. More like कि हाँ मतलब I'm sending him messages because I feel like sending them messages. I feel
yeah,
like telling them that I'm inspired by their work. Like whether they reply or not is on them, but I want to
yeah.
communicate my feelings about their work to them because that energizes me. That's a really interesting thing. So, how old were you when you got this TVF thing? Like, which year of college were you in? Like,
First year
was
I
it
was 18 and a half.
and
okay.
in first year college?
Yeah, first year just after
Okay.
my first semester break.
What is Timeliner? Sorry, is that like a sub studio of TVF or is that a
TVF,
series they
yeah.
were working? Okay.
So TVF had like three. TVF has 3 or 4 subsidiaries. One of them is
Hmm.
Timeliners, which was back then based in Delhi, and they used to make content for North Indian, not typical fun Londa wale stories, like cute stories type of thing. TVF
Yeah.
used to make like very mature content, like in terms of comedy. The comedy was thoda sa for intellectual people. Screen Patti was completely for the raw single Londe. Timeliners was like massy content, you can say. And then Girly Appa is also one of them.
This one, so tell you a story, right? In 2018, Ronit Sinha, who is sitting here with us today, right, DM'd Kunal Shah
Oh,
asking for a job. Kunal Shah at the time had raised some money, I think, had just sold Free Charge, started Cred, and Cred didn't really have a huge valuation at the time. Like, assume maybe 150, 200 million, right? And Kunal said, "Hey, like, uh, I'd love to work with you. Just send your resume to this person." Similar scene as you with Arunab, right? But Ronit was like, "No, I don't know if this will work out, etc." And he didn't send the CV to Kunal's team, right? Today, Kunal Shah's like his company is worth 6 billion, which means that Ronit could have 40x his ESOPs if he had decided to join the company at that time, right? And this should serve as a lesson to all of you present that if you do manage to send DMs, you should follow up as well, right? Because you don't know where life might take you. But I feel like when you reach out to these people, Rishav, your content is probably very well tailored to them as well, right? You research them, what are they most likely to respond to, what about me will they find most relevant? Because otherwise, ऐसे तो loads of people will just send, "Hey, I'm a big fan," and then of course nobody's gonna reply to you, right? Like,
Of course.
so
I think
that,
I learned this throughout because when I started DMing, I still read my old messages. One day, again, matlab, same feeling. I was watching Samdesh Bhatia, one of the unfiltered with Samdesh. I
yeah.
felt very moved by his work, and I just thought, कि let's just put a random message. Then I saw कि मेरी और संदेश की बात 2018 में हुई थी.
Hmm.
Because I wanted to work in Scoop
Oh.
Book back then. Just तो मैं Scoop Book TVF ऐसे चैनल्स में जाना चाहता था. मैंने देखा कि अच्छा 2018 में हमारी बातें हुई हैं. And then when I read my message, how I used to reach out back then, तब संदेश के भी followers उतने नहीं रहे होंगे. So it was very immature if I compare. Both, of course, you learn it through the journey. But yeah, I mean, I think two things are there. Like few of my messages are thoda strategic, and most of them are very emotionally driven messages. So I think people maybe sometimes even I feel ki, is it all happening just because I am reaching at the right time? But so I had this, you can say, guilt or some, I don't know what kind of emotion was there. But when I was in TV, I just said to Abhinav कि यार मेरा सिलेक्शन सिर्फ इसीलिए हुआ क्या कि हम आपको मैसेज किए थे. देन ही सेड कि यार तुम्हारा इसीलिए हुआ क्योंकि तुम वो स्क्रिप्ट भेजे तो तुम हमको चाहिए था. सो इट्स नॉट बिकॉज ठीक है तुम रीच आउट किए इज अ गुड थिंग तभी पहुंच पाए, बट अल्टीमेटली व्हाट मैटर्स इज द वर्क यू डू. So this is a conflict in my head also. Is it all happening just because I'm sending them messages? But then I think like thousands of people are also sending messages. So tailoring and stuff now I have learned is, of course, I mean, keep it something which will make the other person interested in you. When someone reaches out to me, they just say, ki, "Hi Rishabh, how are you doing?" I'll say, "Hey, I'm good." But if someone says, because when someone messages me, and if they have a very specific point to talk about, even if they need a favor, or if even if they just want some guidance, or they want to just discuss something, but if they have something specific in their head and they are conveying it, then for me it becomes very easier to respond. Then I take out time and I just respond very nicely. Ki, "हाँ, ठीक है, you can do this, you can do that." So I think while reaching out, you should be little clear what you want from them. You just don't want their reply. If you just want their reply, you can send love letters. I mean, no harm in that. But if you want like some positive outcome from that, you should be clear in your head what the other person can give you. I mean, if I will meet Shah Rukh Khan, I can't ask for 2 crore rupees. I mean, so that should be clear in your head. Ki what you want from that person. Even if you be able to meet Amitabh Bachchan, what you can ask from him. What is the biggest thing he can give you? And आपकी क्या capacity है उनसे लेने की. So that equation should be clear while reaching out to anyone. Some people can give you jobs, some can give you network, some can just give you a selfie. So be clear about that.
Cool. And you started working with TVF during college, and then did you ever end up going full time with them? Like, what exactly happened over the next 3-4 years, and how did you make the jump?
It's like doing, like, first was my internship. So they wanted to extend my internship and they offered me a full time role. My college was in Delhi, so it was not possible for me to take the full time role because they were back then, like pre pandemic, remote work was not a thing, like very as a common. So फिर वो turn out नहीं हुआ. I went back Delhi, and but I was in like a connections तब तक बन गए थे. People liked my work. During my 3 months of internship, I wrote 4 scripts. 3 of them got produced within 2 months. So at that time, I was one of the good performing asset in the company, and I think that's where maybe luck or like real right time, right place thing worked. बिकॉज ऐसा भी होता है कि आप कुछ काम कर रहे हो and आपने 5 स्क्रिप्ट लिख दी और 2 बन ही नहीं रही है, 3 बन ही नहीं रही है. मैंने जो लिखा वो तुरंत तुरंत बनती गई. चीजें वॉज इन मोशन. आई आई पिक्ड अप ऑन दोज प्रोजेक्ट्स व्हिच वर अबाउट टू गो लाइव. टाइम सेंसिटिव चीजें, चीजें हुई. So I was like in a good books. So फिर उसके वजह से सेट किया whatever my college तो मैं नहीं छोड़ सकता. They asked me so can you drop out. I said no, मतलब drop out तो नहीं करूंगा मैं. तो देन जैसे कि ठीक है फिर जब भी तेरी छुट्टियां होंगी सेमेस्टर हर सेमेस्टर के बाद तू तेरे अभी 5 सेमेस्टर बाकी है तो तू 3 साल में 5 बार आ जाओ मतलब आराम से एंड वंस यू ग्रेजुएट यू कैन ज्वाइन लाइक एज अ फुल टाइम. सो ठीक है साउंड्स नाइस. आई अगेन देन आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग लाइक ठीक है मतलब मैं आइडियाज भेज रहा होता था फिर ब्रेनस्टॉर्म में कभी किसी पे कॉल पे बैठ गए. सो again, that time I was not at all thinking about money. So salary was never like I got my stipend for my internship, but after that I was never concerned. Even at that point, I can pay the fee कि हाँ भाई 500 रुपये मैं दे रहा हूँ मुझे रख लो. तो वो पैसे का कोई लोड तब था नहीं. सिर्फ काम काम का था तो आई वॉज वेरी कंप्लीट मोड की ठीक है जब भी कोई काम आया उसको लाइक ठीक है मैं कर लूंगा ये कर लूंगा वो कर लूंगा. Again, next break happened. I again went back to Europe. And uske baad, I went back in January and in March, like pandemic happened. So uske baad to फिर चीजें रुकी गई थी. Then TV also went through a rough phase. That time थोड़ा उनका valuation का भी problem हुआ था. Like it was कि acquire होने वाला है. ऐसे news portals में से ऐसे news आई थी कि acquire हो सकते हैं ऐसा. Uh, फिर उसके बाद मैं graduate हो गया तब तक I also mentally moved on from TVF कि ठीक है अब I have to do bigger things. Then during pandemic also only I got opportunity to write a web series with one of the India's his name is Divya Prakash Dubey. He's one of the India's bestseller author. He's a Hindi का bestseller author. So उनके साथ he just again I met him and I reached out to him because I read his book. I reached out to him. He replied. We met and फिर उन्होंने एक दिन ऐसे कॉल कर दिया कि यार एक फिल्म लिखना है. ओके ठीक है तब तक आई ऑल्सो मूव ऑन फ्रॉम टीवी मेंटली and I graduated. I joined advertising. So seasons and two things were parallelly going on. I joined like to just for a full time role. I joined advertising, and then films and web series and stuff are happening. Sansa. So ये college time का ये scene.
So I have a question here. They asked you to drop out, and obviously it's almost you're sort of in this rocket ship, right? You're like, this is gonna go to the moon. Like TVF is gonna be this really cool thing. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's watching it, and you get to be a part of like TVF, which is the rocket ship. And they're like, "यार, आ जाओ, हम मचाएंगे," right? And they're asking you to drop out. And you earlier, I think you mentioned that like you went to college, but you went to probably college for the degree, not to really learn anything. So that's what you wanted. So what was the decision in your head where you were like, nee, whatever happens, like no matter how much I like TVF, no matter how much I like making movies, no matter how good this opportunity is, I still want the degree. I don't want to drop out. Like, why did you say no to that opportunity? And yeah.
I think everything has a lifespan. No, like कि चीजें एक time के बाद every dream, every company, every person has a lifespan. For me, it was clear like it is not bigger than like just completing my bachelor's. If it was master degree, I could have maybe dropped out. But I was like, school छोड़े मेरे को 6 महीने हुए थे. And I was not feeling confident कि is it right time to drop out, like take a such big decision कि मतलब पढ़ाई नहीं कर रहा. And also I didn't feel कि how the excitement and everything was there. Like I really want badly I wanted to be a part of TV for more longer time. I was again getting all the attention in my college. I was like a star, like oh fuck you, because I also featured in those videos. I acted in those videos. But in my head, I was very pretty clear that no, it, I think it was very instinct based decision. It felt not taking a right decision if I will drop out. And reasons I think was very clear. That my journey is beyond TVF. I was pretty clear day one. TVF is just a stepping stone. So मतलब मुझे ये नहीं लगा कि यहाँ करके चीजें बस यही रहना है and stuff. So I think that was the main reason if I introspect now.
It's very interesting. So you decided to stay in college. What did you learn from college? Like, how did mass comm did it help you in any way? Did you learn any cool things? Was it more like you're doing things in TVF and college is still motivating you because you're getting that same kind of attention that you used to get in school, and you're like, dude, with TVF I'm getting the same kind of attention even in college. And that has been a constant source of inspiration, right? It's like, if I'm imagining Rishav in your head, I'm like, Rishav is this guy who's like, there's this big stage, there's a spotlight from on top, in a round place, and then Rishav walks on stage and he does an act and everybody's applauding, and that's the thing that keeps Rishabh going. He's like, that's what I want to do. I want to wake up every morning and I want to be in that spotlight and I want to perform for the audience. They want to they'll clap for me and they'll have a good time and I'll feel energized. Like, is that how you were using college for when you were working at TVF? Like,
No. So इसके पहले, before college, my academic life was very fucked up. Like I never got appreciation because I was not at all good at the studies. So I just felt that once I will enter in my college, nobody will question me for straight 3 years because your marks doesn't actually matter in college between the semesters. Like final result, maybe someone will ask, but nobody will question me for 3 years. So for me, it was like living in a rent-free space where I can just do whatever shit I want to do. That's why I think college just gave me a roof. It was like a shield, no questions attacking me ki what you are doing every day. What's your plan for next month? Because in school I used to get that ultimatum कि इस semester में marks नहीं आए अगले में कैसे आएगा? What इस subject में नहीं हो रहा, how you will do that in next year or something. For college, in my head it was very clear कि now for the next 3 years nobody is going to question me, and in these 3 years I have to build something for myself which will give me a job in the sense of some work which will pay my bills, because again you can shut people's mouth only with money and even to satisfy myself. So that was clear in my head कि college will just give me a space where I can do stuff what I want to do. And again in my college, like there were no placements, there were no scene of like the highest salary one was getting, like my seniors were like 25,000 a month, and they were like, oh 25,000 की दम है. I was like, fuck, matlab, how can you be happy in like, because journalism is a very underpaid uh, domain. And again, I was clear that I don't want to be in journalism. In first semester, I decided the whole industry and stuff. I don't even have to take an alternate route. Let's see what. Then that's how advertising happened, because I decided that journalism I will not do. So advertising was also one of my subject. And in those 3 years, I will prepare myself for so I can go to FTI. So that was my plan. In 21, when I will graduate, I will apply for FTII and I will complete my like masters in acting, screen acting from FTI. And 23 was the timeline when I would be graduated like in masters from FTI and bachelors from in like mass communication. And then I'll move to Bombay and then I will figure out my way. So that was my plan. But then pandemic happened and everything changed. I think it impacted everyone's life in some way. Like we all took like few major decisions in our life, maybe because of pandemic or like its effect. So yeah.
Okay, so your choice was between at the time FTII, like applying for that, and Leo Burnett, or was Leo Burnett supposed to be an interim between bachelor's and FTII, like that placement? What was that like
So
of that experience?
Leo Burnett, I joined. I again when I was in TVF, I one problem is with me. I get bored very quickly. Like even in 2 months, I was there for 3 months, and in 2 months I was bored with TVF. कि यार ठीक है, मतलब सेम चीजें हो रही है. What next? So then I thought कि films तो अभी नहीं मिल रही है. मतलब I am not ready to make films, and if I want to challenge myself, I thought advertising is a cool way. Like 30 seconds, so I have to tell a story in 30 seconds or like 1 minute, which is very challenging, right? So I thought like, and then I also saw like a lot of people who are like now directors. Even Rajkumar Hirani, if we say he edited those Fevicol ads. So every like all the top directors and writers are from advertising. And back then, like I think 20 years back when there was no YouTube, no such creative space, advertising was only domain where you can do creative works, and then you become like director or you go to films. So I read about the journey, Nitesh Tiwari and stuff. And then I thought, कि अच्छा ठीक है, these people guilty and stuff. So कि ठीक है यार, advertising is something new. Today at TVF, I'm getting 15 minutes to tell a story. What if someone will say something in 30 seconds or like 1 minute? So I took that as a challenge, and then advertising is something cool. Then I got to introduced with the term copywriting. What is copywriting? I thought copyright mark is something I knew, but then I actually ठीक basics of advertising I started learning, and then I started applying. So before pandemic, I interviewed at Leo Burnett, and during pandemic, I think June July of 2020 is sometime when it was a remote job. So that time I joined Leo Burnett again as an intern because I was in college only. So that time Leo Burnett happened and between FTI and my college. And 21 FTI also cancelled their exam. So during pandemic, it started feeling like कि यार FTI जाकर के भी चीजें होंगी कि नहीं because pandemic से just पहले मैं FTI गया था हफ्ते भर रहने के लिए. And I have few friends from FTI and one of my guru is also from FTI who's my acting coach. So वो मैंने माहौल देखा FTI जाकर के कि how students are there. And then I felt yeah, again, matlab, I don't want to live that life where I'm 28, earning no money. Even if I belong from India's top film school, nobody's giving me work, and I'm in the same crowd where a random person is, and I'm treating the same way. Then I feel I would rather choose a different way, at least where I can have some money for myself. So that was also a reason why I backed off from FTI now. I went to FTI in January 2020 when I was also working at 20 TV. So मैं हफ्ते भर के लिए गया मेरे को वहां जाकर के लगा कि नहीं यार this is not the life I personally want to take. And this is one of the lesson I learned from Cracking the Code of Bollywood by Ayushmann. Because so there's two ways now in my head. One is Nawazuddin Siddiqui's route, where you struggle a lot. Like you literally slog, you do every stuff. And then there is a way how Ayushman cracked it. Like he got a job in radio, which was a well-paid job. He completed his degrees, all like education. Then he groomed himself to become. He acquired many skills, not just acting, but writing, singing, even anchoring stuff. So he opened more ways to earn money. So that was my learning. कि ठीक है, मतलब you can earn money and then you can also struggle. Struggle should be for your craft, not to you know कि आपको शाम को खाने के लिए पैसे जोड़ने के लिए स्ट्रगल नहीं करना चाहिए यार. स्ट्रगल करना है तो आप अपने क्राफ्ट को बेटर करने पे करो एंड इफ यू आर गेटिंग पेड देयर इज नो हार्म. बिकॉज़ उसके पहले इट वाज लाइक अ शेम कि oh you want to become an artist and you also want money. I mean how you that was because all my friends were in those circles. They convinced me if you want to become an actor, if you want to become a writer, you want to do something in Bollywood, you have to sleep on railway station and stuff. So I was like, fuck, matlab, and mentally I was not like nobody is who comes from a middle class family where you get pampered like a king, but reality is opposite. You never dare to choose that life. That book gave me a hope and it just introduced me to another world. You can still achieve success. You can still become a popular person. You can still achieve your dream uh, without sacrificing your basic needs. So that mental clarity happened. That's why I thought, yeah, okay, maybe I can get very good training at FTI, but maybe it is not just aligning with my personality anymore. And also the delayed in application was also a process because then I thought if I will turn 24, 25, if then I will go FTI again 2 years of my journey. That was not making sense. So okay, let's find another route. Then advertising happened. I graduated. Then I joined Shebang as like a full-time creative strategist. And then the advertising journey.
Very interesting because I was just thinking about how even when I think about Bollywood and getting like thinking about anybody who wants to be an actor, the first image that comes to my mind is it's a struggle. Like there's no way that you will ever be financially secure at any point of time in your life. If you leave your job, you're giving up everything to do with like the very simple things. Even if you want to go to a normal cafe and buy coffee, you have to sacrifice on that. If you want to go into acting, you have to save every penny. And what you said, Rishabh, पहले कि like रास्ते मतलब train tracks पे सोना है, you have to live by eating vada
Yeah.
pav. That's it, right? That's the image in my
Yeah.
head also. And it's like it's so cool that like going back again to Ayushmann Khurrana, it's like And like reading the book Cracking the Code to Bollywood, that was the first time that like you read that book and you realized ki probably ki like there is another way to do it also, right?
Yeah.
Ki you don't have to just sacrifice what you're saying, like everything. You can have a balanced life and work on and still work in Bollywood. It's like somebody else did it. Like Ayushman did it.
Yeah.
He sort of showed you that little art of the possible in terms of like having a
Exactly.
balance like balanced, financially balanced life and still trying to perfect your craft in filmmaking, which is to me it's like super inspiring because it's like all about like the story that we're always told and we're only thinking using that story. So like somebody shows you a different way to do it. That's pretty cool. The other thing that you mentioned was your craft, right? Which I think is a very good point. Ki I always think of like your career has three things. Like it has the craft, which is what you're doing. It has the context. Ki like for what are you doing that craft? Are you script writing for like, a Bollywood film, or are you script writing for theater, or are you script writing for, advertising? That's the context. And I think the third one is the culture. Ki like in what culture are you doing it? So craft, culture, context. Now the thing is, when you're doing Bollywood acting, which is really focused on your craft, unknowingly always like there's a lot of pressure put on that craft itself. Like if you want to pursue this craft, culture or context ka to bhul jao. Like culture is going to
True.
be very bad. You're going to have to deal with probably nepotism. तुम्हारी life मतलब will be all across the everywhere. Your context will be like be like don't even try to choose like what kind of thing you're writing for. You have whatever they give you, whether it's like whether it's a shampoo ad or whether it's whatever, you have to write for it even if you don't like to write for it. So
Of course.
it almost feels like there's so much pressure put on your craft that at some point you just snap and you're like nahi karna bhai, mujhe matlab itna why should it be like this, right?
Yeah.
But it probably doesn't have to be like you're explaining
Yeah.
because you've sort of also cracked the code to keep have a balanced life as a 27-year-old and still pursue and perfect your craft.
So that was one of the line in his book where he said ki living alone in Bombay with no job and your only job is just going for audition. What most of the struggling actors are doing in Bombay. So he just said, ki, I would have committed suicide because it is so depressing. That life is very depressing. And when I was kid and I used to think कि बॉम्बे जाके मैं क्या करूंगा बिकॉज तब तो यही था कि हीरो बनना है तो बॉम्बे चले जाओ मैंने आई स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग कि ठीक है बॉम्बे जाके करेंगे क्या तो ऑडिशन देना होगा एंड अभी ये क्वेश्चन ही नहीं किया कि सिर्फ ऑडिशन देंगे तो बाकी चीजें काम नहीं करेंगे क्या बिकॉज देयर वाज नो चॉइस देयर वर no other paths anybody talked about ki you can also work and you can also do things because of course it is not also possible if you're working in a bank and you want to become an actor it's actually not possible so that's why people leave their job I won't say ki, it is very easy of course it's not easy there are two touch points here first is where Ayushman said ki I would have committed suicide if that was the only because he wanted some job he wanted money he wanted that security in his head. Second was he was working double shift. He was working 18 hours a day and he used to just sleep. He hired a driver just because he could sleep for 1.5 hours from one side and 1.5. So 3 hours of sleep in one day. And apart from that, he was just working. He was working double shift. First as an actor in some TV role where he was playing a negative character. Another was he was doing the VJ work, video jockey or angling. So yeah, I think I don't remember कब की बात है, but in Bombay he was earning good money. But again, see, you have if you want to work also, then you have to compromise on something. If you don't want that stress of just going to audition and nothing else, then of course you have to work and you have to work extra. And again, that one of the another learning was work in that space. He got those opportunities because he was in that space only. He was doing the stuff which was happening around the films. So that's how when I think about my journey, how I am tailoring my journey towards film is that I have to be around films. Whether till the time I can't make a movie, till the time I can't act in a movie or write a movie, I can market a movie. So instead of joining a FMCG and selling a shampoo, I can join a production house and I can sell the film. both are the same craft. If currently I'm doing a marketing role type of thing as a copywriter, and even if in future maybe if I pursue even an MBA, which is like a completely different path, even if I go for an MBA, I would see myself working in some big firm like Dharma Production or like Walt Disney and marketing their films rather than joining Hindustan Unilever and working as marketing manager for some stuff. So that's why I think if at least I will be in that conversation till the time. For example, you are making a movie and I am marketing that. We will sit in same room, right? Till the time I can't sit on your side. So these are the learnings I feel ki you have to be very close. And that was a very conscious decision of me while I pursued mass communication because at least that degree was helping me to be around camera. If I will pursue mass communication, at least I will be in that zone. Even if I will become a TV reporter, I will be on screen. So it's better than like doing coding for me. In terms of it will help me reaching my goal faster and it's nearby. So I completely agree with your point. Ki, हाँ, मतलब, this is I think I thought about it.
So I've seen this in music, right? Like you will look at 50 Cent, somebody that got shot 9 times, survived, and then wrote a song about it where he said, I think God spared me for a reason because the motherfucker that hit me, he ain't fucking breathing, right?
Yeah,
So you look at that and then you look at a story where he's like, yeah, I knew that I was destined to do great things because of the fact that my life was spared through this great tragedy, right? And you look at his childhood and all of that, he's selling drugs, going to jail, all that shit, right? And you're like, yeah, he's been through so much, and that has given him the strength and the courage that he needs to persist and get to where he needs to be. And then you look at Kanye West also, right, who suffered a life-threatening accident that
yeah,
broke his jaw, and he created a song where he rapped through the wire, like the wire in his teeth, right? That was wiring his jaw shut, and that made him a superstar overnight. And you look at Louis Armstrong, who is one of the greatest jazz musicians of all time, and this guy grew up dirt poor in New Orleans. And because of the kindness of a family that he was working with, somebody gave him a trumpet and a cornet to perform and to practice, and he managed to reach great heights, right? And this was like in peak racism. So when I think of like these stories of these people, I feel like Jordan from Rockstar, right? Where
yeah.
it's like, मेरा तो कोई struggle ही नहीं है, right? But and I'm like, uh, will I ever be able to make good art if I don't have that burning drive that comes from adversity? That severe adversity, where my adversities are like, right? But I also look at then Julian Casablancas, whose dad is one of the most well-known media personalities in the world. Like this is the lead singer for the Strokes, right? And clear nepo baby, but he's also mad talented and spent years building like the one of the greatest discographies of all time, right?
Of course.
I think it doesn't matter if you born rich, born poor, whatever, have struggled, don't have. It's more about stripping away all of the other bullshit that life imposes upon you and keeping that dream alive and knowing that that is what you really want, and then doggedly pursuing that. I mean, yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like if you are going through struggles and that is your only route, it strips away all the distractions. Ki ab I need to succeed in this or else
Yeah.
everything will blow up, right? Similarly, if you're rich, you don't really need to worry about 10,000 other things, so you can focus on your craft. But I feel like it's just middle class motherfuckers that, have to constantly think about what is our place in life. We're
Yeah.
not exceptional. We are neither here nor there. We have to think about money, but not so much that we will literally be on the street. So I think the key is just being true to your dreams, right?
हाँ, मतलब
Something that I was just.
मतलब we don't have that guts to dream big even, no? And मतलब dreaming big is somehow it's a bad thing if you're a middle class family. You are conditioned in a way like कि you feel like कि नहीं, this is you're going on a wrong path even if you're thinking even to dreaming big because you will do some scam or I don't know मतलब people think it as a boon मतलब कि नहीं मतलब even money is important just so you can pay your bills or EMI, not because you can make something else or you can bring wealth is not no, it's just money, 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 not wealth. Of course, in a middle class family, this is how people think. Just get a good job, good degree. That's it, I think.
I agree, man. I feel like I also grew up in a middle class family, and it was always like this idea ki, like my parents came from a lower standard of living to what I had because they worked hard, and my dad became an engineer and provided for his family and our entire family. And ग्रोइंग अप बचपन से इट वाज ऑल लाइक कि हमारे पास इतना है, तुम ऐसा करो कि इसको गवा मत देना, लाइक ये
हाँ,
रखो प्लीज, लाइक यू नो
ये
दैट्स द नैरेटिव कि लाइक
वो एक
डू
बैगेज हो जाता
वेल.
है फिर।
Yeah, it's like do well, do great things, jitna karna hai karo, but make sure that our respect in society and like this what we built is maintained. So that creates a very different kind of a mindset in the middle class. Ki what Abhilaksh was saying and what you were saying, ki
Yeah,
मैं क्या करूं, like do I really go all out and chase my dreams because that might be risky and I want to do it, but and while doing it I might obviously ruffle some feathers and like it won't really be aligned with like that middle class mentality,
of course.
or do I not do it and just continue to not be true to my dreams? Like it's an interesting situation, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you never realize ki how quickly a privilege becomes a baggage. People who have nothing, they have nothing to lose even. Also, they can, of course, they don't have the privilege to reach out places, but if they able to get on that train, they have nothing to lose. But for us, it's like, yeah, respect, the way you mentioned respect and how other person will think, like people around us
Mm.
will think about me is also a baggage. Like, oh, you're because I got like backlash. Like, matlab, when I said that I want to do mass communication, people framed it that he was not intelligent enough to pursue engineering, so he is pursuing mass communication. I said, ki, how even engineering come into the play? Because I just don't want to become an engineer. Okay, I agree I'm not good in maths and science and physics, but how does it matter if I'm not even thinking? I would think like ठीक है यार, अगर मेरा आईआईटी में नहीं हुआ और मैं किसी और कॉलेज में जाता हूँ तो आई वुड से कि ठीक है, मतलब आई विल compete in that zone, no? But if I want to become something completely different, why would I compare myself with something which not at all aligning with that? Of course, like that becomes a baggage for you. कि यार, you have to prove them. Then they will question how you will do that. And of course, nobody has a clear answer. No, like even we all are exploring it. We don't know what will happen. If nobody, we can have a rough plan. We can have a detailed plan, but there's no assurity that you will get it. It's always your instinct which says, or like you plan it, you hope that it will turn out, but there's no guarantee that it will turn out.
Okay. So in Shabang, you worked on your advertising related skills. You were a creative strategist.
Yeah.
You mentioned you working, I mean, like I went through your resume and stuff. So you were working with OTT brands.
Yeah.
So like Netflix and Hotstar and stuff, right? Um, and you were helping market their TV shows to larger
Yeah.
audiences. And where were these ads aired? Like, was it YouTube wale ads or TV ads? Just
Mostly social
what?
media work and more and other stuff was on YouTube as well.
Okay. And you did that for how long?
1.5 years.
Cool. What made you then decide to go to Bangalore once you'd made it to Bombay, where you knew that this is the
Yeah.
city of film,
Dreams. Yeah.
and now you went to the city of startups, which is booming for a very different reason, and which fills people's eyes with stars for very different reasons. So, what prompted that? What happened?
So two things were there. Like, of course, like Bombay was my city of like it is a city of dream, and matlab, mere liye it was like कि, since kid, what I want to do in my life is just go to Bombay. Even I pursued my degree, I wanted to get a job so I can get a job in Bombay. Matlab, that was reaching Bombay, like staying in Bombay was my ultimate destination, you can say. And then when I got a job in Bombay, I felt like, oh, I have arrived. But it was during pandemic and it was remote job. So I was thinking, okay, let's see once pandemic get over, so I will shift to Bombay and stuff. But advertising is again a very less paid industry, and it was not. enough to live in Bombay. मतलब again वो फिर चौल में रहने वाली बात होती. So then I said that was not very straightforward. I would say that that was my reason. People around me were from Bombay only. So for them वो बहुत easy था उनके लिए वो route कि हाँ बॉम्बे में उनका खुद का घर है. They are just coming to office. But मेरे लिए I have to find a place for myself. I have to like pay all the bills. और वो वहाँ पे वो एडवर्टाइजिंग में मतलब वहाँ पे वो चीजें नहीं हो रही थी बिकॉज आई वाज आल्सो वर्किंग आई वाज इन माय बिल्कुल ही बिगनिंग ऑफ माय करियर आल्सो so till the time it was happening all remote it was fine then they stopped their work from home policy and they wanted everyone back in Bombay office. So then I thought कि नहीं, it's time to move. And उसके पहले how I came to Bangalore was कि my younger brother he passed his 12th examination 21, 22, 22. So we shipped like he got admission in Bangalore in Jain University. He's now pursuing bachelor's. So for me, it was a choice. You can stay in Bangalore as well because I will accompany him. He's like, of course, the pampered child, so how he will live alone and stuff. And I was doing remote job only. So even I thought कि it's been 2 years and 2.5 years. I'm in Bihar, living in my home. I also got like saturated point कि हाँ ठीक है, let's go out. तो मुझे लगा ठीक है यार ये job remote ही चल रही है. It's better to live in Bangalore. Even expenses will be smart because we both are living together and stuff. So that's how I shifted in Bangalore, and I was living in Bangalore for after 6 months. That happened. I came in 2022 August in Bangalore. In March 23, they decided that we want everybody back in office. So I thought, कि चलो ठीक है. Now I am in Bangalore only, so I don't नहीं यार Bombay तो नहीं हो पाएगा with the money I am getting. So I thought कि ठीक है यार cool काम तो है but पैसे भी important है. Then I thought, okay, let's find something else. And then I got a job here in Slice in Bangalore for copywriter role. And they are like principal part of Mumbai Indians. So I thought, कि चलो ठीक है यहाँ पे कुछ fun काम हो जाएगा. So that's how I thought of Slice. कि यहाँ भी marketing में चीजें हैं and I will get experience of brand side as well. So agency से मैं थोड़ा वो भी हो गया था कि यार थोड़ा और कुछ try करते हैं. That's how like Bombay to Bangalore. Because हाँ मतलब currently when still if I think about कि यार बॉम्बे ही तो जाना ultimate decision था. So if I say कि यार बचपन में you dream of something and then you with time it changes, right? Like you evolve as a person and your dream also it like some layers वो आ जाते हैं. So I think it is one of my learning or which got changed with time is कि now going to Bombay is just not the dream, but going to Bombay like living the dream, living the life you want, like just to sustain in a better way is now on need. So I think here with time I evolved my like thought process evolved.
Cool. And at Slice, I mean, because I interviewed you last year for a different role at the startup I was working with, I know this. You have worked on UI UX copy, you worked on ad copy, you worked on content, for social media, you worked on literally writing out the notifications that pop up on somebody's screen
Yeah.
when Slice wants to promote something to them or
WhatsApp
get them to
messages,
use the app.
emailers.
Okay, and at the time you were, if I remember correctly, almost solely handling a large chunk of this, right?
Yeah, even currently I'm the sole copywriter at Slice.
Beautiful. And this is, for context, at least $1 billion startup, right? Many more billions, I think, actually. And take 1.8 billion.
Now, yeah.
And yeah. So I just had one question. How do you think because I distinctly recall, okay, so it's like me and you, I think, were outsiders in the Bangalore ecosystem in some sense, because I came from consulting and big industry, and you came from advertising and more creative industry, right? What were some peculiar things you noticed about, I want to say, celebrity culture in Bangalore, like the kinds of people that are lionized and turned into idols versus Bombay and the creative
Yeah.
side of stuff?
I think I mentioned this in our interview thing also. It was very surprising for me when I saw like people literally worship Kunal Shah. I mean, I don't know. Matlab, I was still figuring that out. Okay, why is it happening? I mean, of course, he's a successful entrepreneur and stuff, but a kid, like a 20-year-old person, even if he wants to become like Kunal Shah is a great way, but just for a selfie or just to see him in a cafe, I don't understand that. Like, so my brother's friend circle is completely in the startup ecosystem, and they are like 80, 90-year-old kids who are making their own products, and they are going on those hackathons and stuff. So, unki stories when I see on Instagram, they are like going out just to their day out is at trade office, like outside trade office, of course. So, matlab, for them, like, कि यार great चलते great चलते. I was like, कि for matlab, why? I mean, it's just an office. Okay, I mean, it's a good, like, it's a big company, but there's Google office also, right? So, why is it that fascination? I don't understand. And I have heard about, like, now my friend circle, like, who hang out with founders and so when I hear their stories, it's completely different, and somehow I feel like it's the same. If it is happening with players like cricketers or any sort of sportsman or like actors or who are literally famous for their work, even if they entrepreneurs are also, but I just don't understand that वो दीवानगी वाली चीज है यार. Why is it happening? I'm still figuring it out. And their conversations are also very cliche. You know, like X person saw me and he did that. Then I now what changed throughout time was कि इसके पहले I used to get gossip about Bollywood कि you know like इसका इसका affair चल रहा है and इसने इसके साथ hook up कर लिया. जो इनसाइडर इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं किसी के अब मैं फिर जाके फ्लेक्स कर रहा हूँ कि तुमको पता है इनका इनका ये सीन है पागल क्या है इनका हो ही नहीं सकता यार मतलब अरे मुझे पता है इनसाइडर अभी यहाँ पे मेरे को पता चल रहा है कि तुम्हें पता है ये इसका फाउंडर जो है ना वो हेलीकॉप्टर लेकर के एयरपोर्ट पे जाता है उसने अपने कंपनी के इतने पैसे खर्चा कर दिए इस चीज पे उसने इसको ये कर दिया वॉट एवर द शिट इज हैपनिंग आई मीन डिफरेंट डिफरेंट और फिर मुझे बड़ा अजीब लगता है कि तुम उनकी पर्सनल लाइफ में इतना क्या इंटरेस्ट ले रहे हो कि कौन क्या खाना खा रहा है कि कौन कहाँ पे क्या इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है मतलब तो हाँ मतलब वो एक सेलिब्रिटी कल्चर इन बैंगलोर इज कम्प्लीटली ऑपोजिट एंड बियॉन्ड माई अंडरस्टैंडिंग की व्हाई इज इट हैपनिंग.
Yeah, this is very funny, and I mean, I think I'll try to answer because as somebody who has a lot of like who's a fan of like corporate CEOs and businesses and somebody who believes in that entire ideology and what these people are doing. I think like what you were describing, right, Rishabh, ki like for you, Ayushman Khurrana is the ultimate person. It doesn't matter if you
Yeah.
meet someone else. There's a personal
Mm.
connection to Ayushman, which is like he is the best person that you can meet and you'll break down in front of him. I think for a lot of these kids of the younger generation or even us, like meeting Kunal Shah is again that personal kind of connection. They must have heard like his TED talk, his vision on life. They consider him not just an entrepreneur, but like probably like a modern philosopher or something. And there's some
Mm.
kind of like a connection with like personal connection because I think that's the beauty of role models, right? And that's what we are trying to do with this podcast. It's like I won't understand why you think Ayushman is a role model, but Ayushman as a role
Mm.
model works for you. And it's a very personal relationship that you have with a role model.
Exactly.
It should ideally be a two-way relationship, which we're trying to create because we're trying to create relatable role models from people around us. So two-way relationship जैसे आपका हो गया आयुष्मान के साथ after like reaching out to him and him embracing you as a mentee. That's the best equation. That's beautiful. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think it's a super personal relationship. So like, I mean, what you suggested, what you were saying, right? कि समझ में नहीं आता कि why are people discussing like this founder's eating habits? I don't think we'll ever get it. But for the
Yeah.
person who's inspired by them, that's like, I really want to know everything about this person so that I can understand how they think and how their brain works, and I want to emulate that, which I think is
Mm.
comes from a place of pure inspiration, which I think is
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think
Yeah.
everyone मतलब उनकी जर्नी में maybe they also want to pursue something similar and they want to be like them maybe जो मतलब मेरी भी लर्निंग रही है इतने दिनों के बाद एनालाइज करते हुए कि हाँ but agree on that.
So, in your case, right, you mentioned you're still involved with theater, and
Sure.
then you work with an acting coach, right? So, just wanted to get more color on that. What kinds of productions have you been involved with, and have you been in, writing the scripts, acting, or both? And then what is it like to work with an acting coach, and what sorts of things do they
So
teach you?
I have worked with three theater groups so far. One was two were in Delhi and one is in Bangalore. But my experience as an actor on stage is still like I have done just one or two plays only so far. And I have written a few plays, but which has not get produced yet. But I have done a lot of workshops. So workshop is different from your normal play. Workshop, you get training about acting. Like you will work on your senses. You will work on observation, imagination. Like you will experience a lot of acting exercises. You will learn about them. You will learn about yourself, exploring the world. So I learned about acting. You can say what is acting? Like acting is someone said acting is doing. Then someone said acting is reacting. So what exactly is acting? The basics of the workshop. I have done a lot of workshops. First was with a person. His name is Girish. He's from FTI. Then second is from he's a very veteran actor. He's an SD pass out. His name is Mahesh Vashish. He's based in Gurgaon basically, and who is also mentor of Rajkumar Rao. So he used to go to the same place in Gurgaon, and when I found out that he also come to same place. So again, so those two and then one more group in Bangalore here. So that is just for the play purposes. In those workshops, even I went to Anupam Kher acting studio for like a short crash course. So in all those exercises, you will learn about basics of acting. Ki, for example, a very interesting story, if I will tell you, it was my first day at one of the workshop, and when I went, like वो लोग सरगम practice कर रहे थे. And for 15 minutes, no one was talking. They all were involved in that. They started rehearsing. I reached थोड़ा late. So I thought कि यार मैं music के class में आ गया क्या मतलब I तो thought acting है तो कुछ तो dialogue वायलॉग चल रहा होगा इधर. Why they are practicing on harmonium? Then ठीक है वो चीजें निकली. Day one I was fully clueless. And then it was with Girish. And उन्होंने एक exercise करवा रहे थे जहाँ पे you have to imagine कि यहाँ पर एक मंदिर है. And you have just यहाँ पे एक मंदिर है. How you will go and how you will practice the whole puja part. You have to enact. And you don't have any props. It's a blank space. हम लोग सब लोग बैठ के देख रहे थे. People used to go, they used to do stuff. एक बंदे ने किया तो you know that जब हम तेल में वो दीप जलाते हैं, so there is a रुई वाला part, right? And आप उसमें तेल लगा के you do this to make it little longer and then you light it up. So when he was doing this, no, so when you will do this, you if there is nothing oily, there's a friction sound. But if there is oil, the sound is little chip chipasa, right? You get a sound very different to oil. And I heard that sound, but there was no oil. So that was completely magical कि यार यहाँ पे oil नहीं है, but I heard the sound of oil. And that was conviction of him, and that is acting, that was my first introduction. It felt like काला जादू type चीजें कि जो मेरे को hypnotize कर लिया तुमने. But फिर किसी ने एकदम पानी के छींटे मारे and I felt कि मेरे चेहरे पे कुछ आया, but he was putting it on her face. She was like a girl. I felt यार ये क्या मतलब I was like कि यार ये तो magic है, मतलब ये acting नहीं है, ये तुम क्या कर रहे हो. Then now अभी भी मतलब मैं प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ चीजों को. Then I realize कि यार ये ऐसे होता है कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल अभी मैं बॉटल से पानी पी रहा हूँ, तो मेरे हाथ में ये बॉटल है, बट अगर ये बॉटल नहीं होगा, मैं पानी फिलहाल ऐसे पी रहा हूँ, बट अगर मेरे हाथ में बॉटल नहीं होगा तो मैं ऐसे पानी पीऊंगा. बट ऐसे ये फिंगर ऐसा मुड़ गया तो बॉटल कैसे पकड़ोगे. तो यू हैव वो एक मसल मेमोरी इतना डेवलप होना चाहिए कि इवन इफ यू आर शोइंग योर, अगर आपको मैं बोलूंगा चाय पी के देखो, आप ऐसे चाय पी लोगे, बट इन एक्चुअली ऐसे कोई चाय पकड़ ही नहीं सकता है. तो मतलब ये एक एक्सरसाइज था, मतलब जस्ट आई एम सेइंग कि दिन में जो भी काम करते हो ना, यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस इट. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू आर ड्रिंकिंग कॉफी, तो आप ऐसे कॉफी का कप उठाओगे, अगर आपका कॉफी का कप इस साइज का है, एंड यू शुड फील द हीट ऑन दिस फिंगर, क्योंकि आप इस फिंगर को यहाँ पे डालते हो, यहाँ पे आपका कॉफी का आउटसाइड वाला लेयर होता है, तो यू शुड फील द हीट हियर. हाँ, मतलब अब जैसे भी कोई अगर आप शूलेस बांध रहे हो, तो यू शुड फील कि एक थ्रेड कहीं से निकल रहा है, एंड यू आर स्टिल मैनेजिंग टू टाई. कोई भी एक बेसिक सा कोई भी काम उठाओ एंड जस्ट स्टार्ट प्रैक्टिसिंग दैट, यू शुड फील ऑल द फाइव सेंसेस कि उसका स्मेल क्या है, हाउ इज इट, इफ देयर इज एनी साउंड इन्वॉल्व, वो साउंड कैसा होगा, दिखने में कैसा है आपको, दैट इज द बेसिक टच. और पांचवा में भूल गया, बट हाँ. तो वो मेरे लिए बड़ा मैजिकल था यार एक्टिंग में. मतलब मैं भाई ये क्या कर रहे हो तुम. तो मुझे तो एक महीने तक मुझे समझ ही नहीं आया कि ये क्या करवा रहे हैं. मुझे बोला कि यार तुम पूजा करो. मैं गया, मैंने ऐसे गेट खोला मंदिर का, फिर मैंने हाथ ऐसे डाला, बोला कि यार
Hmm.
तुमने अगर इतना छोटा गेट खोला है तो तुमने हाथ इतना अंदर कैसे डाला? मतलब इधर गेट शुड बी दिस वाइड ओपन, तो भगवान की मूर्ति यहाँ है तो तुम यहाँ हाथ कैसे लेके जा रहे हो? तो वो भूल जाते हो ना, अगर आपको एक्ट करना है, आपने जहाँ पे चप्पल खोला फिर वहीं पे आपने उसको क्रॉस करके आप कहीं और जाके चप्पल उठा रहे हो, तो वो इतना कैलकुलेटिव होना चाहिए। देन माई स्ट्रगल वाज कि यार ये करने की क्या जरूरत है, बिकॉज फिल्म्स में या इवन ऑन प्ले आपको प्रॉप्स होते हैं। तो बट या वो हेल्प करती है। इवन ऑन कैमरा देयर वर प्लेसेस की जब आपके कप में चाय नहीं होगी, इट विल बी एम्प्टी, एंड इवन इफ यू विल नॉट फील, इट शुड बी इन योर हेड। मतलब व्हाट आई हैव लर्न अबाउट एक्टिंग इज कि वो हमको दिखाना नहीं है कि इट्स हॉट, यू हैव टू फील इट्स हॉट, एंड इफ यू आर फीलिंग इट्स हॉट पीपल विल सी कि इट्स हॉट। if you will do this, अरे ये बहुत गर्म है यार, then it's overacting. But if you will just feel the heat in your head, you even if you are not reacting at all, even if you are just normal कि हाँ गर्म है, your basics से play रहे हो आप, people will find out कि हाँ मतलब, so I think acting is conviction of जो आप खुद को convince करते हो चीजों के लिए।
I have never thought of acting like that. Like that is a, I mean, like deluding your brain into feeling feelings, right? तुम अपने brain को बता रहे हो कि मुझे ये feel करना चाहिए, so that you're convinced कि that is the feeling. Like I've read a little bit about method acting and how people obviously the biggest example I think I know of is Heath
Yeah,
Ledger, and how he to get into character spent I think couple of months or weeks inside like a room
Bombay.
alone just to get into the darkness of the Joker character.
Yeah,
um and I knew that, but like the way that you described it, just a simple, elegant way of understanding like so much goes behind like perfecting the craft of
yeah,
acting, which is, yeah, it's amazing. Rishabh, you've at least taught us that like it's super possible to like have a one balanced career when you want to have it in Bollywood. You don't have to give up like on a lot of other things that you want to do. You can balance it out and you can pursue it even while perfecting your craft. And I think just that insight, right? वो वाला insight is the thing that keeps so many people from ever pursuing a career in Bollywood. Like that insight in itself is gonna probably inspire so many people to be like, man, we can do Bollywood and we can still maybe go to like Subco or somewhere and have a coffee. We don't have to give it up,
of course.
right? That that's I think critical.
I want to like add one more point here is like the most important part is also prioritization. Like you can't do everything. Matlab, if you want a balanced life in terms of you want some money. For me, balanced life is earning a decent amount of money and then pursuing my life, my passion or like what I want to do. Then I have to give up on things like going out with friends or other things. I mean, I don't know, like what I'm sacrificing, I don't know. And for me, it's not even sacrificing. I'll just deprioritize those stuff. So you can't tick all the boxes. So you just have to figure out like top two, three things you have to have in your life. I think how I think about it is ki if there are 15 things in your checklist, there's at least right now in my point of in my where I am in my life right at this point, my learning is that there's no need to tick a single box. You can tick like two or three, but of course you can't take 15, makes it 13 or 10. You can't. Then of course you can't reach. मतलब अपने ड्रीम के उस थ्रेशोल्ड पे आप नहीं पहुंचोगे. You might reach somewhere, but
Hmm.
not at the point you have imagined. Again, you have to prioritize. You really for me, how I have prioritized myself ki I don't want to be a person who just knows everything about craft and still don't make any use of it. I want to be a commercial actor. I don't want to be an actor who is really good at his craft, but just 100 people watch him in a play. So that's how, and if I will say this out in my friend circle, they will shame me out. Yeah, you are not an artist. You are just like people say stuff like that. If you go to Mandi House in Delhi, and वहाँ पे you will meet people who don't want to earn money. They just want to act in a play. That's it. And even they are happy doing that without money and stuff. So for me, I don't see that as a merit. So वो प्रायोरिटाइजेशन और मतलब कहीं ना कहीं शायद मैंने फिर आर्ट को डिप्रायोरिटाइज किया होगा. ठीक है, it's okay if I don't reach at that level, but I want, if I'm putting my work, I want something out of it. Popularity, fame, success, money, and again, wider audience, because films has more visibility than a play. So you have to make choices always. You have to make priority. Okay, what you want, what exactly you want, without a shame.
It's been an absolute delight to have you here today. I personally am going to, like, I'm taking away two things from this conversation. The first is starting tonight, I'm going to DM Dua Lipa as often as I can because uh, I need to manifest a meeting with her and I will
For
marry
sure,
her.
for sure.
And we will have beautiful Indian Albanian babies that will be 6 feet tall because I'm guessing that will be her side of the gene
Of
pool,
course.
and they should have my skin color and my brains. But the other thing that I'm taking away, right, is that creative careers, like any other career, even if they involve a lot more right brain thinking and a lot more thinking out of the box, right? Require like a deeply structured
Yeah,
approach. If especially if you don't have a lot of natural things working out for you, like a parent who is in the industry and who can open doors for you, and so on and so forth. I personally, right, have also always really liked writing, right? And I've been interested in film, anime, music. Like creativity has been like a big part of my life, and I think is a large part of what drove me out of the corporate career that I was in, right? Where it's like maza nahi aa raha, right? So I think that it's really inspiring to me that you've been able to figure out an identity within the creative world that fits you specifically, right? You're building a brand for yourself and you are collecting a series of skills that not a lot of people have in combination. um, and I feel like there is always like a desire in you to expose yourself to different environments, learn from different people who know very different things and can mentor you and pass those over to you. And at the end of the day, to me, that's where creativity comes from, right? Inspiration. So it's like get it from wherever you can in whatever environment you were in, and then embrace that very fully, and then it will exhibit itself in your work, right? And I also consider myself as somebody being from a tier 2 tier 3 city. I know Ahmedabad is technically like considered close to tier 1 now,
yeah.
but I don't think so. I have never felt this way, right? And I hate being here again.
Mm,
I despise it right? Because to me it just feels like it's something I've been trying to escape all my life, right? That somebody with this background can possibly never make it, right, in like a creative field. But then it's like I never thought about Ayushmaan Khurrana, for example, as somebody that might have come from the same background, had a lot of the same concerns,
yeah,
been from coming from like the same place when it comes to making these decisions, right? But I think it's important that everyone embraces the background that they have, and then
yeah.
even if it's like, and it doesn't need to, like I said, be a immense struggle wala background. It can just be like whatever average background you've come from. It doesn't matter, right?
Of course.
um, and all of that can reflect in great work, and it can bring you where you need to be. So cool. We'd like to close out this episode with one question to you, Rishav. What inspires you today, and what is next for you now? Yeah.
What inspires me today are the plans or the vision I have seen in my childhood, like what I have imagined how my life would turn out when I will grow up. Still have those clear images, like how my day, or how I always wanted to be touched. Like I always wanted to be my work to move people. So that feeling, whenever I do some work and it reaches out to public, and how they feel out of it, and how it will impact my life, is something which inspires me every day. And what next is, I'm again trying to find out a balance between something which will make me more closer to our films, and somehow I'm started liking marketing also. So I think for a couple of years, maybe 2, 3 years, I will still explore the same route where I will be in that zone. And parallelly, like things are going on. I have written a film and a web series. So if they that comes out anyway between these 2, 3 years, it will bring a change. And after 3 years, maybe 2, 3 years, I will like go full fledged into acting and writing. Writing is somewhere still happening. That is happening like full fledged. But acting stuff till time I'm like preparing myself, like doing more theater, more plays, so I can become a better at my craft. So yeah, I think after that next is Bollywood.
That's great to hear, man. Thanks so much, Rishabh, for coming on and sharing your story, and I guess hope for inspiring so many of us to like pursue something in Bollywood when I feel like it's the most daunting thing for any Indian kid. Right up there with like wanting to be Virat Kohli and wanting to be Shah Rukh Khan,
Exactly.
like equally
Equally
scary.
same.
Right? So thank you for humanizing that a little bit and for speaking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Same here.
Yeah,
I
and
feel really honored.
hope to see you on the big screen.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was like a great knowing you both, and Abhilash, I know like from previous, but like great chat. Even I, uh, like after a while, I introspected myself. So of course, it's an experience and therapy for me as well. But thank you so much for inviting me.